guys, and welcome to my channel, Changing Phases Tarot. I'm so happy to have you all here with me today. First of all, Happy New Year. I hope that 2018 is going to be a wonderful year for everybody watching. For my returning viewers, thank you. I really appreciate you sticking with me throughout the past year. I appreciate all of your likes, your comments. It really does mean a lot to me. And for new viewers who have found me here, I'm very happy that you stumbled across my video here on YouTube, and I hope that the messages resonate. And if they do, please feel free to like, share, and hopefully subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Now today's reading will be a 10-card Celtic cross, right? Focusing on the energy surrounding each of the signs for the month of January 2018. I'll be using the Crystal Visions Tarot deck for the main reading. Pulling 10 cards plus one additional card from the bottom of the deck is the overall energy for the month. And then I pulled two additional guidance cards from the Soul's Journey deck by James von Praagh and the Soulful Woman guidance card deck. Okay, so I pulled two additional ones just for extra messages for the month of January. Just a couple of things before we get into the reading quickly. The 2018 overview readings, they're up for all of the signs. So please do go, watch your video, watch your sun sign, but I also suggest watching your moon sign and your rising sign. That way you will have a really, a better idea of what is coming up for you throughout the year. Sometimes some of the messages won't resonate in one of the videos, but then when you watch, all three together, you really get a better picture of what's coming up for you. So those are posted. For Virgos watching out there, I really do apologize. Apparently at the beginning of the video for Virgo, the 2018 overview video, I think I'd immediately finished recording Aquarius, and then I stopped and I meditated on Virgo, shuffled, and I guess I had Aquarius on my mind. I kept saying Aquarius instead of Virgo, but it was for Virgo, that reading. So I edited and I uploaded the video, so I apologize for that, Virgo. Sorry about that. Okay, so continuing on. Again, the messages in the videos, in all of my videos, they are general, right? I do obviously focus on each sign as I meditate, and the reading is for that particular sign, but there are many people with many different situations, right, watching the videos. The only way that you can really get a good personalized, look at what's going on in your life is to get a private reading with me. If you're interested, you can take a look at my site. There you'll find all the information about the readings that I offer, as well as pricing. My site is changingphasestarot.weebly.com, or you could email me at changingphasestarot@gmail.com. Okay, and one last thing, I will be putting out for the full moon at the beginning of January. I'll be doing so in the next couple of days. I'll be posting a full moon special reading for this new full moon of the first super moon of the year. And I'll also be doing my giveaway that I do. So it will be a drawing for a one-card reading. I will post a separate video for that explaining exactly what you need to do. But if you're interested, just follow the instructions and you'll be entered in a drawing to win a free reading with me. Just something that I like to do at each full moon, and it's just my way of giving back to everybody who watches me. So I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and enough talking. Let's get into your reading. See you in a minute. Hi Aries, I hope you're doing well. I'm here to do your January 2018 reading, your overview reading for the first month of the year. As you can see, I've already laid the cards out. I've really just been doing this to try to save time. I'm doing my best to keep the videos to around 30 minutes for this January overview. So far, I've been keeping pretty close to the 30 minutes. So I've been meditating, shuffling, and laying the spread off camera. So that's why you already see everything here. So let me lower the camera a little bit so we can see our cards better. Okay. So we have, as your overall energy for the month of January, Aries, you have Major Arcana number 20, Judgment. And it's interesting because as an additional oracle card, the Judgment card came out. So 2 judgments. And also at the center of your reading, you have the Death card, which I always think, yes, obviously they're 2 different cards, but, there's some similar energy with the Death card and the Judgment card. So we'll get into that. But with the Judgment card as your overall energy for the month of January, it's all about, it can be a sort of a judgment call, a difficult decision that maybe you're dealing with during the month of January. Whatever it is, it's, this is, you actually have, let me see how many major arcana you have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, 5 out of 11. So nearly half of your reading is made up of major arcana cards. So I would say that the month of January is going to be quite a significant month, right? Quite significant life events, definite divine, orchestration at play here with the events going on during the month of January. But the Judgment card, it also has to do with rebirth, which is why I say that, it does make me think of the Death card. Let me show you both. It makes me think of the Death card because there is there's an ending and a rebirth associated, especially the rebirth associated with both of them. So you can see that at the center, right, you have the Death card, which is all about change. And you see how they both have, there are butterflies, which is this rebirth, renewal. They also have, the same flowers here, right, the surrounding both of them. Both of them are winged, right, but she is playing, right, she's calling. There's a certain calling associated with the Judgment card. So it might be a judgment call. You might be asked to make a tough decision. There might be, definitely a fresh start, a new start for you. Thinking that, through death comes new life, comes a higher calling. And then with the Death card, immediately after it, this is number 13 of the major arcana. The Death represents a significant ending, okay? And it's also a new beginning. So it's a significant ending that really gives way to something new, to change. So this could be, and since it's major arcana, it's usually associated with, something major. So a major chapter in your life, quite a long chapter in your life. Or it could have to do just with, ending a relationship, could be ending a career, could be ending a bad habit, could be ending a way of thinking. And with this at the beginning of the year, this could be you. I mean, it could be something as simple as, though it's not always simple, as starting a new diet, ending this old way of eating and, and really getting into this new, a new different way of eating and exercising and taking care of yourself. So it can be many different things, but there's definite metamorphosis, definite growth associated with the Death card, and understanding as well that, death is not an ending. Death is just a change, right? Just like in life, death is not the end of life. Death is just a change, right? We go from this physical being to, a spiritual being, up to the spiritual realm. So, it's all about perception, but it is, you have 2 big cards here that speak of fresh starts, major changes. Sometimes with the Justice card, I'm sorry, I'm thinking Justice. No, sorry, Judgment card. Sometimes with the Judgment card, there could be a difficult decision at play, so there might be a major life decision that that some of you are dealing with during the month of January. But, whatever it is, there are definite endings and then new starts, fresh starts, new beginnings, which is very nice to have it at the beginning of the year, right? Nice energy to have. Well, what's crossing the Death card as either a hindrance or a help is the 9 of Pentacles. So this ending, which is why I said, this might be ending a career, ending a particular job, because Pentacles energies has to do with finances, has to do with work, has to do with education, the work that we do, the money that we're paid for, the job that we perform, the material possessions, everything from the material realm, right? The material possessions that we accrue, so our homes, And you see how this woman, she looks very self-sufficient. She looks very content. She's really built for herself, the life that she's always envisioned. And she has a beautiful, lush garden around her. There's a very proud-looking peacock sitting next to her, a tiger looking very regal. So, with this crossing the death card, this could have to do with, leaving one job that no longer served you and moving into, making maybe a difficult decision, but having this fresh start, this new start in some other type of career, some other field, beginning a new job at the beginning of the year, because it definitely has sort of material, tangible, something tangible, material associated or attached to this death card, and and also with the judgment card is the overall energy. Now, what's at the foundation of your reading is the Two of Cups. Now, the Two of Cups is the minor arcana version of the Lover's card. It's typically referred to as the soulmate card. You can see that there are these two people, right? They're sharing of, or pouring the water that they both have into this one cup, into this one chalice. And it's really a very deep bond, a deep connection is what the Two of Cups has to do with. Sometimes it has, if we look at it outside of like a relationship, but the Two of Cups can be partnering up with somebody else, right? Getting into some type of partnership with somebody. So if this is you leaving behind a job and moving into a new career field, right? It could be you partnering up, joining with somebody, or partnering up with another person to achieve greater financial stability in your life. Outside of the career and, finance world, I would say that this card, it speaks of definitely a connection and a common bond between two people. It can just be a friendship, a very, strong friendship, but it also is, it does represent, a loving relationship, romantic relationship. So this could be, and sometimes the card shows up when there's, a deepening of that relationship. So this could be actually joining together with another person, getting engaged, getting married. There's, it could be that as well. But it's a very deep, they call it soulmate. And I always say to, keep in mind that soulmate relationships are not always the easiest. Sometimes the soulmate relationship we enter into, or we agree to enter into this soulmate relationship before we even incarnate into this world. So this is something that we agree with in the spirit realm to incarnate with this person, to either teach them a lesson, to learn something from that person. So it's not always the easiest of relationships, Some soulmates come into our lives for a short period of time. Some soulmates are our life partners. So it really depends. But you have this at the foundation. So this partnering up with this deep, soul kind of connection with another person here. What's in the past? More Cups energy. And Cups is the suit of water, right? Just like we have with the Two of Cups. And then crowning your energy, you have more Cups energy. You have the Four of Cups. But Cups has to do with our emotions, our feelings. It also has to do with psychic abilities, intuition. And it's how, how our feelings really push us through life, and how they, how we interact with other people, how they sort of influence the way that we interact with other people and kind of deal with everything, in life. It's our feelings and our emotions. The King of Cups could be, when the court cards appear, they can be actual people that we're dealing with. If so, let me just see here. Now, he's the only court card that you have in your reading. So this could be an actual person, right? It's in the past position. So this could be somebody that you were dealing with in the past. And if it is, then it would typically be an older water sign individual. So that would be a Pisces or Scorpio or Cancer. Generally older. It doesn't have to be gender specific for these general readings. Can be male or female, but definitely older, because the kings and queens, when they appear, they're people who have really mastered that particular suit. So the King of Cups, he's somebody who has mastered the suit of cups, which means that, he's usually very kind, very loving, very honest, very intuitive, compassionate. He really uses his, you see how he's holding the chalice here, so he really uses his emotions, or he keeps his emotions balanced to be very fair. So he's a very, very ethical king. He's a very fair person. He's very diplomatic. He's able to, if there's a conflict, he's usually the person who can, diffuse that conflict. So this could be somebody that you were dealing with, right? Could be attached to this Two of Cups over here. Could just be, a situation, that you were dealing with, or it could be in the past, this was you taking on the energy of the King of Cups. But what's crowning your reading, so the message from your higher self, you have the Four of Cups. Now, the Four of Cups is, it's a card that speaks of boredom. You see how the woman, she's staring at this chalice. She doesn't even notice that there are 3 chalices behind her, right? She's just really staring mindlessly into this cup with the water lily, and she's not paying attention to anything else. She does it kind of like, she's just bored. It's a card of apathy, a card of feeling bored with or indifference towards a situation. Sometimes it has to do with taking time out, and if there's something that you're not sure of, something you're trying to figure out, it's kind of retreating, withdrawing. But so there could be something that, and it might be linked to the this ending here, and wanting to have this ending, a new beginning, because possibly you have been feeling bored with maybe the job that you're in, or the work that you're doing, and you're not feeling challenged, so you're kind of staring here like, this is great, but you want something more than that. And then there's more kind of taking a look at things from a different perspective, and taking this time out, coming up in the future position with the Hangman. This is another major arcana card, and the Hangman really speaks of, it can be like a delay in something happening. It can also be, so something, it's not that the thing won't happen, but maybe it's going to take a little longer than what you had expected, kind of energy, because you see how he's hanging upside down from the tree, right? And his legs are tied, right? He's bound there. But he could get out of the position. He doesn't, because he's surrendering to this, whatever this moment is, that he realizes he needs to gain a new perspective. If he were the right way up, he wouldn't be able to see things from the same way that he can by hanging upside down. Obviously, when you're hanging upside down, you see things from a very different perspective and point of view. So it's a card that speaks of, possibly needing to change your perspective, or gain a new perspective on a situation. Maybe this is what you've been feeling, a little indifferent or apathetic about. And so you're just retreating. You're taking that time out for yourself to really, figure out which is the next best, or what's the next thing that you are going to do, so what are your next steps? But there is some change of perspective, or seeing things from a different point of view, that might be needed with this. Now you come in very powerful. So you and your surrounding energy, you have 2 very powerful cards here. So you appear as the major arcana number 7, the Chariot. And then we have the Justice card, okay, as your surrounding energy and how people might view you, right? Your energy in your environment. So that's number 11 of the major arcana. Now, the Chariot card, you are just charging ahead. Look at that. You are in control. You see how the woman, she's commanding. There she has the light horse with the dark horse. So it's this yin and yang, these opposing energies here, these opposing forces. And she is just in control of the situation. And there's also there's like a castle in the distance, but she's just charging away from this. So this could be, with this Death card and the Judgment card, there could be something that, that you've had enough with, you're moving away from, you're moving on to new things with this card. but it's a card of movement. So there might be actual movement. Could be, you know, in a car. This could be across land. Could be fast, you know, a fast movement, but it's definitely forward motion, and it's fast motion, and it's also powerful and victorious, right? The Chariot card is a victory card. So you're feeling very determined, very in control, you know, and sure of where you're heading now because you've gained this new perspective with the Hangman card, and you're just full speed ahead. With the Justice card, and that's funny because when I was talking about the Judgment card, I didn't even notice the Justice card over here, and I kept saying Justice. But you have the Justice card. Now, the Justice card speaks of, it can have to do with dealing with the legal system. You know, it can actually have to do with the courts and legal proceedings and lawyers and judges, dealing with the government. So some of you might be dealing with that. And if so, then typically when this card comes out in the upright position, it's because things are going to go in your favor. You see that she's carrying the sword of justice, the scales of justice. So there might be something to do with truth, something to do with balance that's needed. It could also have to do with feeling that, you know, something is finally something has turned out sort of fairly for you. You know, sometimes when the Justice card comes, it's like, oh, well, somebody treated me unfairly in the past, and that person, you know, nothing ever happens to that person, and that's not fair. Well, then the Justice card just kind of says, you know, you don't need to worry about that because the universe has its own way of coming in and taking care of things like that, right? There is a divine order, even though we might not always understand it. There is a divine order to the unknown, right? To these things that end up happening. So if somebody has treated you unfairly, or if there was, you know, a situation that you felt was unfair, maybe it had to do with the job that you were in. Maybe you weren't happy with it, or, you know, were feeling apathetic because maybe you felt that you weren't being treated fairly. You don't need to worry, right? You keep moving on. You move ahead. Everything is going. You have two victory cards. So you have you as the Chariot with the victory card, and then the outbound energy and your hopes and fears. Let me show you that one first. You have the Ace of Pentacles as your hope. So, you know, you are hoping for this new beginning with something to do with your finances, right? Possibly this new job. That's your hope. You're going after this new financial opportunity and this new and you know, the aces are yes cards. So you kind of have you with the Chariot victory, yes card as your hopes and fears, and then the Six of Wands as your outbound energy. So this, you know, this is fire energy. So this is obviously your energy, Aries. And the Six of Wands is another victory card, right? This card has to do with triumph. You see how he has this crystal ball in his hand, so he's a great visionary, right? He's clear of where he's heading now. He has the strength of the lion. He is standing on atop this hill here, or this mountain, and he is looking victorious, you know. And he has, even though he has these other ones kind of facing him there, he is definitely in control. You know, he is victorious. He's come home from battle. He won the fight. You know, and the Five of Wands is a card of conflict that comes before this, and now here he is as the Six of Wands. He's victorious. So, you know, whatever it is that you're setting out on, whatever this new, fresh start, new beginning, whatever that might be for you, it's definitely, you know, you are heading on the right path. You are going where you need to go. If there was any type of confusion or doubt surrounding it, you don't need to, because, you know, the Ace of Pentacles here is your hope. This is all about achieving your goal, and also having the means to reach your goal and manifest your dreams. You know, so your ability to really attract what you need, what you want. And then, you know, you have the victory card at the end of it as you leave January moving into February. So whatever these new beginnings are, endings and beginnings, you're going to be victorious with it, right? There's very positive energy coming in, mainly towards, I would say, you know, the changes, you might see them begin during, you know, the first couple of weeks, but it's really not going to be until closer towards the end of the month that things are really going to take off for you, it looks like. So let's take a look at your 2 oracle cards. For those, I like to read from the guidebook to give you the full meaning of each card. So the first card that you have from the Soulful Woman deck, you have card number 41, and it's called The Unknown. This card says, when I find myself at a crossroads where something old has come to an end and the new is yet to be formed, I am gentle and patient with myself. As I release the old, I trust that the universe is creating the space for the new to enter my life in its own perfect timing. I was just saying that. I just said that about with the death and the endings and the judgment and the hangman and trusting in the divine timing and trusting in the order of the universe. That's interesting. I keep my heart open and embrace the mystery, knowing I can't hurry this process. Sometimes when I don't know when, don't know how, don't quite know what or with whom, something magical happens. I open myself to the alchemy of my soul's growth. I enter a change portal in my soul's journey that calls me to bow to a design and intelligence infinitely greater than my own. Living in this place of don't know calls for courage, patience, curiosity, and trust. I reach out for support from those that love me. I open my heart to the loving guidance of the divine. Well, this ties in beautifully with the messages here at the center of your reading. Now, the other card is from the Soul's Journey lesson card deck by James Van Praagh. It's the Judgment card, and it says, I understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. Okay, so the message is a little bit different with this Judgment card than the Judgment over here, but let's take a look. Judgment. Here we go. We are all spirit. We are all the same. It's only the roles we have chosen to play here on earth that make us seem different. The biggest lesson you have chosen to learn is love. There are so many situations in this physical dimension that it is possible to incarnate into. But the core lesson is to look past these illusions and see yourself in everyone. Each soul has chosen its own struggles, and your task is not to judge how someone goes about overcoming these obstacles, but to assist that soul. Spirit has given you the tools of compassion and empathy to help you see through the eyes of those who appear different. Your ego has taught you that making other people feel insignificant or inferior will allow you to feel better about yourself. This is an illusion. By diminishing others, you diminish yourself. Always learn to follow the golden rule. I would treat others as I would like to be treated. Everyone in your life is here to teach you something about yourself. Accept the lesson with love and understanding. That's interesting. I think that actually this judgment card really does kind of tie in with some of the message that I was getting for the Two of Cups and the Justice card about the, learning different things from different people and coming into our, to this life, incarnating into this life with a lesson to learn, from people. So there are always lessons to learn, right? We might not realize it at the time, but people, they come into our lives to as either a blessing or a lesson, right? And then the Justice card, it was what I was saying about you don't need to, you just treat others how you want to be treated. You don't have to, if they treat you wrongly, right? If they do something to harm you, doesn't mean that you need to turn around and get back at them, right? You just worry about yourself. Act, act responsibly, act in the way that you feel good about yourself, and how the other person acts, you have no control over that, and you don't need to. The universe will step in and take care of it for you, so don't worry. All right, well, I do hope that these messages have helped in some way, Aries. I thank you again for joining me here today. I look forward to reading for you again next month, and just know that I'm sending you much peace, love, and light for a wonderful month of January. Bye for now.